You don't have the fucking balls, do you?
Pull the fucking trigger!
Fuck you! Well. Looky here.
Oh my God,
We
Morgan!
got ourselves a killer.
What is going on, everybody? This is BRONCOJUGGALO, and I want to tell you a story. It's 2003. There hasn't been a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film in about 7 years. The franchise is pretty much dead. Nobody cares about it anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying nobody likes the original movies. I'm just saying nobody was saying anything about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had kind of flown the way of the dodo bird and made its way into the annals of horror movie history. And then along came Michael Bay and his company Platinum Dunes, and they approached New Line Cinema, who owned the rights to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And they said, hey, we want to give this a shot. We want to remake this movie. Michael Bay's like, hey, I got this great director. His name is Marcus Nispel. I even got Daniel Pearl, the cinematographer from the original film. And he's like, we can do this. We can make this film. We can bring the Texas Chainsaw Massacre into the 21st century. And New Line was like, okay, let's see what happens here. We'll give you $9.5 million, and let's see what you can do with that. So they gave Michael Bay and his team $9.5 million, and Michael Bay turned it into a $110 million cash cow. Starring Jessica Biel as our final girl, Erin. Starring Arlie Ermey, who you may remember from a lot of great films, including Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket. He plays Sheriff Hoyt. And we have Andrew Bryanarski as the titular character of Leatherface. Also known in this one as Thomas Hewitt. Now, we all know that the Sawyer family is the family from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, in the 2003 film, they decided to change that around and call them the Hewitt family. They also decided, and Daniel Pearl decided, that he wasn't going to shoot the film the same way he did the original film. He said, I don't want to do that again. We already did that. I don't want to give a complete shot-for-shot type of recreation like so many remakes do these days. He's like, I want to do something new and original and good. And something completely different, where it pays homage but does not copy the original. The result of which is they traded in the chaotic insanity of that original movie for a more darker, horrific feel and a darker, horrific tone, which, personally, I love. So our story is that 5 teens traveling across Texas to Dallas to go to a Leonard Skinner concert come across a woman hitchhiking down the side of the road. They stop and pick her up. She's completely out of it, completely dazed. She literally pulls a gun out of you-know-where, sticks it in her mouth, and blows her fucking head out. And I love the shot where it goes all the way through her head, out the back window. It looks amazing. It's so cool. After that incident, they stop to call the sheriff, and they wind up in the clutches of this crazy fucking sheriff and an even crazier family known as the Hewitt family, which happens to be the home turf of Leatherface. Now, in this movie, we have a much bigger, much meaner spirited Leatherface. You don't see him as that pathetic kind of creature when he's not killing that you see him in other films on the inside as much. We do get one little scene where he's kind of like, waiting there, hiding kind of, but that's about it. I think that Leatherface was portrayed amazingly by Andrew Bryanarski. I'm never going to get his name correctly. He happens to be my favorite Leatherface in the entire franchise. I think he's awesome. Something else I found out while researching this was This guy was already huge. He was 300 pounds. He's 6 foot some odd feet tall. And they had him wear a suit to make him even bigger. He wore a fat suit. So his 300 pound bulk turned into 420 pound bulk. And this is not me throwing any shots at Gunnar Hansen. I think that Andrew plays a much bigger, much more intimidating, much scarier version of Leatherface. And I truly love that about this film. I love that they did not try to copy the original, but they wanted to do their own thing. And I think it makes for a much darker, much scarier film, and I love that. So, getting into the pros, guys, my first pro is the intro and the outro. I love the way it's done, and yes, there will be spoilers in this, so just so you know. I love how we enter the film with the same narrator as we had in the original film. The same narrator, but instead of just reading words on a screen, he's narrating and then showing where the police officers are investigating the Hewitt house. And it's kind of a found footage kind of deal. And I really like that intro. On the outro, we have the same thing where they're still investigating, and then bam, something happens, and all you see is like the camera shaking and them falling and dying, and Leatherface there, and you just see that quick image of Leatherface. And it outros with him narrating as well. And I really, really like that. One of the first things you notice about this film is the music. I love the soundtrack of this movie. In this movie, the first song that you hear is Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama, which is an awesome fucking song. Who doesn't love that song? They're doing this, they're driving along, they're listening to the music, they're on their way to the Skinner concert, so they're jamming out. And I just love the soundtrack of this whole movie. Not just the score, and they do utilize that great Texas Chainsaw Massacre music, but I like the actual soundtrack. Now, a lot of it doesn't get played during the film, but this official soundtrack for this movie is a rock and metal soundtrack filled with, post-2000 metal, including some Pantera, some Fear Factory, and a bunch of other great shit. I love the cast of this film, guys. I love, as I said, Andrew Bryanarski. I love Arlie Ermy. I really love Jessica Biel in the role of Erin. I think she's great. Up until this point, she was known for Seventh Heaven. And then after this, her movie roles just exploded. And, I mean, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, and she is a great actress. And she does such a good job in this role. I like all of the friends. I like all of them. They're really good actors. I know their names, too, and I just forgot a couple of their names. But I like them all. I think they all do a really good job. I like the cast of this movie. I even like the expanded family of the Hewitt family. And I think they all do a great job in the film. I think the acting in this film is top-notch, and I love it. Especially from my two main next pros. The first one, Arlie Ermy. Arlie Ermy is fucking amazing in this movie. He's Arlie Ermy. He's playing the same character he always plays, just really, really psychotic. And I love that. It's so amazing. He does such a good job. And I just love listening to him. He's so funny in his own way. He has this very dark humor about him. And that's something I like about this movie. The original movie was supposed to be kind of a dark humor film. And this movie does have that dark humor. It's done in a different way, but it is still there, and I really enjoy that. Andrew Bryanarski, as I said, I think he is a great Leatherface. My personal favorite Leatherface. He is so intimidating. He is downright scary in this movie, and I love that. No shots taken at Gunnar Hansen. I think Gunnar Hansen did a great job, and he introduced us to this great character, and he set the template. And I think Andrew Bryanarski took what he did and said, okay, that's him. That's good. I'm going to learn from that. But I'm also going to bring this to the character, and it worked. And it melded perfectly, and he was just a great, great Leatherface. I've never once heard anybody say that he's a bad Leatherface. I love the gore in this film, guys. Probably one of the goriest films yet to date for this franchise. It's brutal. It's great gore. In this movie, Leatherface even gets his own arm chopped off with a meat cleaver from our character Erin. And I love that. At the end of the film, she chops off his arm. And I'm so cool with that. And then you see the arm and his hand, it's still gripping the chainsaw. And he's trying to knock it against the walls, trying to get his hand, his own arm, off the chainsaw so he can go after her again. And I love that. It's so cool. The gore in this is just so gory and messy looking. And it's sticky and grimy, and it looked great. I really love the house. I love the house of this movie. I like the house from the original, but I really like the big, plantation style house we have in this film. And I like the entryway. Kind of looks like the entryway from the first one, except on a bigger scale. We have, of course, the same thing where Leatherface is behind an iron sliding door. And then, that's awesome. And he takes some people down to the furnace room, and that's where he does his work. And I think that's great. I love the house of this movie. I like that there's like this weird tunnel that goes around to the fruit cellar. I like that. I thought it was a cool thing, and they utilized it well in the film. My biggest pro, though, for this movie, guys, is this movie is fucking scary as hell. This movie is so scary, and I love that. Now, I've watched it a million times. I'm not scared by it. I wasn't scared by it the first time. But for a lot of people, this was a scary film. Watching them scream in the theaters was scary and fun. It was awesome. So, guys, that is it for the pros. Now I'm going to get into the cons. Oh, wait. I don't have any. I have no cons for this film. I love every second of this movie. Okay? I know, I didn't even like the original that much, did I? Or at least, well, I do like it that much, but I didn't like it as much as I like this one. I love this movie, guys. I really, really do. And I've been waiting to do this review. I've been waiting to do it because I've really, really wanted to talk about this movie. I want to know what you guys think. I really do. Because I know that there are people out there that love the original so much that nothing can ever take its place. And I've heard them badmouth this film. But give me real reasons why you want to badmouth it. And I'm not saying your reasons aren't real. But give me some legit, actual reasons. Just don't say because you don't like it. I'm not saying that that's not a real reason, but I want to know your reasoning behind why you don't like it. Is it just because it's not the original? Is that it? I want to know. I want to know what you guys feel about this film. I love this film. It is one of my favorites of the franchise. I'm not going to tell you where it ranks because I don't want to give that away yet. And I am so glad that we have this movie. And I'm glad they made a prequel to it. I wish they would have kept going with this timeline. They did not. That's okay. We'll go from there later on. In the meantime, guys, this is Bronco Juggalo saying, everybody have a great night and pull the fucking trigger. Peace.